Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're wrestling with uh, a really profound question about what true authority even is. It's a paradox that you find not just in, human leadership, but at a cosmic level. We're looking at these beings who have what seems like ultimate strength. They rule entire realms, but they're still dealing with this fundamental, aching sense of incompleteness. How does that happen? How can limitless power lead to just endless problems? The question from our source material really says it all. The gods had power, but they still felt incomplete.
It's a line that it really grabs you, doesn't it? It completely challenges that basic assumption we have that, more force equals more success and more satisfaction. We've been going through excerpts from The Intelligence of Power, which is a modern text, but it pulls these incredible truths from the Devi Bhagavatham. And for anyone who might not be familiar, the Devi Bhagavatham is a foundational Hindu text, or Purana, but it's really unique.
And so,
Well, it focuses on the supreme goddess, the Devi, as the ultimate reality, the ground of all being. So it's not just stories. It's a deep dive into how the cosmos actually functions.
okay, so our mission for this deep dive then is to get past the mythology and pull out the wisdom that explains why sheer force, whether it's divine, military, or, I don't know, corporate brute strength, why it's so unstable, why it can't create any kind of lasting harmony. We're looking for the blueprint, really.
Absolutely. We're looking for the why. Why is raw power just not enough? What's the missing piece that turns all that chaotic force into something stable, something creative?
All right, so let's get into that instability. I mean, if you're a god, you can literally dictate reality. That should mean ultimate stability, right?
Right.
But the source describes their world as feeling profoundly systemically unstable. Their victories were, what did you call them? Pause buttons?
Yeah, that's it exactly. The text points to this classic cyclic problem. The gods would rally their forces, they'd assert their dominance, defeat some huge threat, and they'd celebrate. But the victory was always, always temporary.
And the solution created the next problem.
That's the critical part. The act of solving one problem with just overwhelming force would create a vacuum or a ripple effect that just spawned a new and often more complex challenge.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure. Think of it this way. They use their power to, say, eliminate the single leader of some cosmic enemy, short-term win. But they didn't touch the underlying reasons that enemy rose in the first place. So instead of one big predictable enemy, suddenly they're facing 10 smaller, more chaotic, unpredictable ones.
So their solution actually made the system more dangerous.
It introduced more risk. The instability isn't about them being weak. It's a flaw in the method itself.
But why couldn't they see that coming? I mean, these are gods. Doesn't omnipotence come with some foresight?
The text suggests it's a failure of scope. Raw power, by its nature, is focused on one thing: applying force to overcome resistance. It's a hammer, and everything looks like a nail. It solves the symptom, the demon, but it doesn't understand the environment, the politics, the repercussions of its own actions, so it just throws everything else out of balance. Yeah.
It's
the ultimate case of winning the battle.
But guaranteeing you'll have to keep fighting the war.
Forever.
Yeah.
Raw power is, paradoxically, too narrowly focused on itself to create any real systemic stability.
And this is where it gets so relevant for us. You don't have to be a deity to feel that kind of frustration. I mean, just think about a time in your own life or in a leader you've seen. Maybe a huge corporate merger driven by nothing but financial power. They use all that capital to just crush a competitor.
Yeah.
The victory is immediate, right? They asserted their dominance. But did it solve the problem long term? Or did that brute force approach just, destroy the company culture they wanted to buy, alienate all the best talent, and leave this new merged thing totally unable to innovate? Because it was all about conquest, not integration.
That is the perfect parallel. The core truth coming out of the Devi Bhagavatham is that power alone can't sustain harmony. It can impose a temporary order, sure, but that order has to be maintained by constant suppression, and that's just exhausting for the system. It's fundamentally unstable.
So you need something more.
You need something deeper. And that realization is what finally pushes the sages, and then the gods themselves, to look for a different answer.
So they're caught in this loop, and they realize, okay, a bigger weapon isn't the answer. A stronger warrior isn't the answer. That's the turning point in the material. They stopped looking for just another deity to worship or someone with better fighting skills. They were looking for something else. What was that?
They realized the missing piece wasn't more strength. It was the mechanism to guide that strength. They seek the Devi. And in the source, she isn't just another powerful figure. She is defined as the intelligence that guides power itself. She's the wisdom, the operating system.
Ah, okay.
And that's really the synthesis point of this whole deep dive. Power is this vast, infinite engine. But intelligence, the Devi, is the map and the navigation system. You can have an infinite engine, but without a map, you're just going to drive into more danger faster.
The engine becomes a liability.
It could even be catastrophic without the wisdoms to direct it.
Which totally reframes what it means to be divine, or even just what it means to be a successful leader. It moves the goalpost away from domination, the power to crush, and moves it towards discernment.
Exactly. The highest form of power isn't about maximum energy output. It's about making wise choices that create lasting stability. Power has to be intelligent to be effective. It needs to know when to push, sure, but also when to use a light touch, or even when to do nothing at all.
That restraint, that's what breaks the cycle. Okay, so if brute strength is the problem, what specific warnings does the text give about what happens when that intelligence is missing? Let's get into the consequences. Because the lesson seems to be that without that inner balance, even gods falter.
It is. And this brings us to the first really crucial takeaway for, any powerful structure, a government, a big company, even your own career. The source is blunt about it. Strength without awareness leads to collapse.
Awareness.
Yeah, and awareness here isn't just, knowing who your enemies are. It's an internal understanding of your own structure. If you build a massive, powerful corporation, for example, but you have zero awareness of its ethical blind spots, its culture, its supply chain, that whole structure becomes brittle. Its own size, its own weight becomes the thing that brings it down.
We see that constantly. Companies don't fail because they're weak. They fail when they get too powerful and lose touch with their own foundation. But how is awareness different from just knowledge? I mean, a powerful CEO has all the data, all the knowledge they need.
Yeah.
Right.
Knowledge is the facts on a spreadsheet. Awareness is the internal feedback mechanism. A CEO might know all the market data, but lack the awareness to see that their strategy is burning out their most valuable people. The source really emphasizes that true awareness is about understanding the system's weak points, its emotional climate, before you try to act on the world. It's the difference between being strong enough to lift something heavy
and being aware enough to put it down without shattering the floor.
That's it. That's the perfect metaphor.
Okay, so that's the structural fragility. The source also points to a second ingredient for sustainable authority, and it's humility. Authority needs humility to endure. That feels so counterintuitive, especially for a god. Authority is about being certain, being in command.
It is deeply counterintuitive, and that's why it's so important. Humility, in this context, isn't about being weak or subservient. It's a strategic asset. It's the thing that stops power from becoming rigid when it faces a problem it's never seen before.
So it's about adaptability.
It's totally about adaptability. The second a leader or a god decides their way is the only way and can't be questioned, they lose the ability to learn. New threats demand new thinking. Humility is just. It's the active recognition that the world is always changing, and your current solution probably has an expiration date.
So how does a powerful person actually do that? What does strategic humility look like in practice? It's more than just saying, I'm humble, right?
Oh, absolutely. It shows up as asking questions instead of asserting ego. When a problem hits, the wise leader asks, what did I miss? What changed that I didn't see?
Instead of who screwed up.
Right, instead of who failed me. It means you build feedback loops. You let people tell you the truth without fear, because you recognize that your power is only as good as the information you're getting. And ego is the biggest dam to that flow of information, that willingness to listen and reevaluate. That's the humility that lets you bend instead of break.
That's a powerful idea. Humility as an operational necessity. It keeps your strength from becoming brittle.
And this all leads us to the ultimate realization from the text, the thing that ties it all together. And that is, balance is the highest form of power.
Balance.
Yes. And balance isn't being passive or neutral. It's the active, conscious blending of force and intelligence, of strength and awareness. It's the perfect use of discernment.
Yeah.
And when you find that balance, your power isn't wasted anymore just putting out fires you started yesterday.
Right. All that energy is freed up for what it's actually for. Creation, growth, harmony. And that's what finally solves that feeling of incompleteness the gods had. They had all the capacity in the world, but they were missing the intelligence to harmonize it.
Right.
And that created all the instability. So wrapping this up for everyone listening, I think the core finding is pretty clear. The true measure of power isn't your maximum capacity for force. It isn't how fast you can win a fight. It's in the intelligence and the discernment you use to wield it. It's about choosing harmony over domination. That shift, that's the whole journey.
It is. And as we finish this deep dive, there's one last kind of provocative thought from the source material to take with you. We've talked about the presence of this guiding intelligence, this Devi, but we also have to think about how it's used,
What do you mean?
the material says. Next, we will see how the Devi chooses when to reveal herself and when to remain unseen. And that's the ultimate lesson in discretion, isn't it? Understanding when your inner intelligence is best used as a visible, forceful action, and when it's more effective as quiet guidance from the shadows. That's the final layer of mastery.
That's a fascinating reflection for anyone, really. Knowing when to use your strength is one thing, but knowing when to use your intelligence and when to hold it back for greater impact, that's what separates the merely strong from the truly effective. We hope you'll continue your own exploration of that relationship between intelligence and strength. What part of your life needs less reflexive force and more conscious discernment? Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.